Welcome to the second quarter earnings conference call. My name is James, and I will be your operator for today's call. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Later, we will conduct a question-and-answer session. During the question-and-answer session, if you have a question, please press star 1 on your phone. Also note this conference is being recorded. I'd now like to turn the call over to John Legorg. John, you may begin.
Thanks so much. Good morning and welcome to everyone here for Grand West's second quarter earnings call here in 2017. Before we start, I need to inform those listening that this call will contain forward-looking statements which reflect the expectations of management regarding Grand West Transportation Group's future growth, results of operations, performance and business prospects and opportunities. The words believes, anticipates, plans, expects, intends, projects, estimates, and similar expressions are intended to identify forward-looking statements. These statements reflect management's current expectations regarding future events and operating performance and speak only as to the date of this call. They're based on a number of material factors and assumptions, including but not limited to a matter of a wide variety of variables in the market. There can be no assurances that forward-looking statements will prove to be accurate. This call does not form any part of an offer of securities or constitute a solicitation of any offer to purchase or subscribe for securities. The sole purpose of this call is strictly for information. This morning we have Will Traynor, the CEO, Taras Kanzerski, our COO, Aaron Triplett, CFO, and myself, John Legorg, here with you. We're going to start off with Will with a review of the financial results and a business update. Taras will give an operational update, and after that, we'll open up for questions. So to start things off, good morning, Will.
Oh, good morning. Thank you. Thank you all for calling in today. We're really pleased here to have reached a major milestone of our very first profitable quarter. So I'll go through some of our Q2 highlights. We've seen record bus and aftermarket sales revenue of over $11 million, first $85,000 a year ago in the same period. 160% quarter-over-quarter revenue increase. That's $11 million versus $4.5 million in Q1. We reached our first profitable quarter with a net income of $221,884, achieving an EBITDA result close to $400,000. Record deliveries for the quarter were 32 vicinity buses, almost $2 million of gross profit with a 17% gross margin. We closed June with approximately $6.5 million of cash, working capital of over $13 million, and total assets of over $38 million. This major milestone, along with a strong balance sheet, has enabled us to pursue a large conventional line of credit with one of the major banks in Canada. This should give us a $20 million operating line that will scale with our growth potential. In our business overview, we retired convertible debentures by converting $1.5 million of debt. This is resulting in a reduction of $120,000 a year in debt service. We implemented an employee stock option purchase plan to retain our great employees. This stock is purchased out of the market quarterly. We certified our buses for CNG. We sold 5 CNG buses to the City of Hamilton, bringing our total CNG buses to 20 units when including our prior sale to the Atlanta airport. Our Canadian sales are continuing to grow. Summertime is traditionally slower. We have bid and closed many RFPs for the first half of the year, and now we're awaiting for the awards to be announced. The Canadian market will continue to be strong as the feds have announced over $20 billion in Phase 2 for the public transit infrastructure funding. The U.S. is progressing well. Alliance Bus Group has been very active in bidding as well, and we're expecting the same type of results that we achieved in Canada into the U.S. market. It takes time to develop, but we're confident we should see some pretty major results this year. Our Atlanta operation facility is well underway. and we're on target to see our first buses flow through assembly line there in September. Operational-wise in Canada, our Aldergrove facility has gone through renovation to accommodate the deliveries of 30 buses per month or a bus a day for our Canadian deliveries. Q2 has proven this operational capacity for us. Now for Q3, we'll deliver a minimum of 60 buses. Target still remains the same for the year of 200 buses to be delivered. Backlog, our current firm orders for Q3 2017 through first half of 2018 are 233 buses valued at over $84 million, with many more orders to come. Operational-wise, Grand West has never been in such a great position. We have low debt, lean operations, and now we're fully staffed for our growth for 2017 and into 2018. For an operational update, I'll turn this over to our COO, Taras Konzerski.
Thanks, Will. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining the call. I've got to say that after 4.5 months on the job, it's flown by really quickly, and I'm just so proud to be part of a team that exhibits the drive and passion that are moving the organization to the next level of performance and execution. As mentioned in the previous quarterly call, we were in the throes of implementing 3 strategic initiatives to support the execution of our company expansion on deliveries. And the 32 buses that we've delivered this quarter is call it evidence of those initiatives that are starting to take hold with the organization. The strategic initiatives were first scaling operations. We're really ramping up in the amount of buses we're delivering. As Will had previously mentioned, we're engaged with one of the major banks in Canada that will support our operations not only in the present but for the future. We're highly optimistic on that facility. In the final stage of expansion at the property, which we were partially leasing before, so we were partially leasing a part of a building. We've now taken over the entire building, and that expansion is almost complete. We've completed our scoping and assessment of an enterprise resource planning provider. We have selected one and are now well underway with our ERP implementation. And finally, we're hiring staff. So we've increased our staff levels to support our current growth or our current needs, but also looking towards the future and making sure that we have the right staff on hand, the right bums in the right seats for the future. Second strategic initiative is structure. So we've been refining our policies and procedures to maximize efficiency, and we're continuing to refine them. We're very much driven by continuous process improvement. And as previously mentioned, our ERP implementation, we're anticipating the improved operational flow as a result. Final strategic initiative was stabilization. With the rapid growth that we're experiencing in the organization, we're having regular checkbacks with all employees to make sure they have an understanding of where we're heading, what course we're on. We're also equipping them with the tools and resources to ensure efficient operations. The team is really paddling in the right direction. On the U.S. front, we are continuing to prepare for U.S. production. Grand West team of transit professionals, management, and the board has finalized the design layout at the College Park plant. Staff and management visited the Weichai facility, the Xiamen plant, in August, working with the overseas production team to finalize process flows at the newly designed plant. Candidates for all level positions at the facility are currently being interviewed and hired. A tight manufacturing build-up plan has been implemented that will permit the company to grow rapidly while maintaining Buy American compliance. We'll begin initial production of 5 Vicinity buses per month in the first stage in order to test and fine-tune assembly. Based on the performance of the team, the plan is to increase to 10 per month. After complete validation and verification of the assembly process assures that the new facility supports FTA requirements We're confident that we have the ability to ramp up even further beyond the 10 a month, closer to 60 a month. The first assembly run of Buy American compliant buses will begin at the College Park plant in Q3. I'd also like to highlight that Alliance Bus Group and Grand West will be presenting at the upcoming APTA Expo in Atlanta, October 9th through 11th, and are holding an open house to showcase the new facility. More information about the expo and open house will be released prior to the APTA Expo.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Terrace. Well, we'll start our Q&A session here now. So I'm going to hand this back to the operator, and then we'll look forward to fielding some questions here.
Very good. Thank you. If you have a question, please press *1 on your touch-tone phone. If you wish to be removed from the question queue, press the pound sign or the hash key. If you were using a speakerphone, you may need to pick up the handset first before pressing the numbers. Once again, if you have a question, press *1 on your phone. Our first question is from Ahmad from Deacon Securities.
Hey guys, congrats on the record quarter. I guess let's take it from the top here. Just thinking about the average selling price you guys realized in Q1. How should we think about it in the second half? Should we think about it consistently with the first half, or a slight, is it going to trend upwards?
No, we really see it trending upward. The sales that we have here in Q2 primarily are to BC Transit. BC Transit is really the first customer that we had brought in, and of course, in your very first anchor customer, your margins are a little bit less. But going forward, as you can see in some of our news releases, we have been increasing our selling price, which increases our gross margins tremendously. We see our Q3 here actually coming in pretty decent because we have a lot of CNG buses, and the CNG buses greatly increase our margins.
Oh, that's great, Carl. Thanks, Will. And I noticed the parts revenue was trending nicely upwards as well. So it's been consistently around 3% of revenue. Is that what we should continue to expect, around that level? You guys see it?
No, good point. Parts revenue traditionally, if you go into the industry standards, is usually around 20% of parts revenue to sales revenue. We are seeing ours ramping up from 3%. We expect that to grow quarter by quarter, increasing to that 20%. What you normally see when you get into the bus sales is it takes a few years for the buses to actually require more parts. That actually peaks at about the 5-year period. So we see ourselves escalating up from 3% to 5% to 10%, and over the next couple of years, we see that coming up to in about another 2 to 3 year period to our 20 to 25% sales to parts revenue. And parts revenue is at a better margin. Our last margins on parts revenue, I'm just looking at our CFO. 23%. 23%. Traditionally, we see that coming up and should see on an average of about 30 to 35% parts revenue.
How should we think about it for the remainder of the year? Is the 3% a good percentage of total revenue just because of the ramp-up nature of second half, or should we look at it more in a dollar amount to like $500,000, something like that per quarter?
No, the parts revenue will increase as we have more buses on the road, and as the buses get older and as the customers need more parts. So that number will only increase as we go forward. So that 3% may be 4 to 5% by the end of the year, and just continue to increase upwards that percentage.
Even with the ramp-up of revenue. Okay, that's great. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
Thanks, Aaron. That's very helpful. And then going down to the expenses, I think there was a slight uptick in your SG&A. So I noticed maybe some of the stuff probably maybe not recurring, and some stuff that will continue to trend that way. So can you give us a little bit more color on the SG&A? What's a good run rate to look at if we take out depreciation and
I think It'll be a little less going forward because you had some. If you had a lot of travel, there was a lot of Buy America travel. There was some travel to China to various transit properties. That should be stripped out going forward. And then there were some commissions paid. Professional fees was a little bit higher than normal because we had some banking situations that we had to deal with in the quarter. But I think going forward, you'll see a slight drop off. Based on the total SG&A, maybe 5%, 10% less going forward. We are fully ramped up in terms of our salaries and wages, so that number won't materially change.
Okay, so yeah, salaries and wages will be pretty much it, but everything else, sort of somewhat else there. Okay, that's very helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's very helpful. Thanks, Aaron. And how is the progress on the new credit facility going? Do you guys announce that, or are you guys expecting to announce it soon?
Sorry, can you repeat that, Ahmad?
The credit facility you were guys talking about. I missed part the initial of the call, so I wasn't sure if you guys announced that it was fully committed or not yet.
We're still in the late stage process of negotiating, but we should have something soon.
Okay. Thanks.
Next week or two.
Very, very close to closing it off.
Okay, that's good. And I see in the MD&A, you guys mentioned approximately 50 to 60 vicinity buses will be delivered in 2017. You mean that's from the College Park plant, right? The 50 to 60.
Yeah, shipping direct, Ahmad.
Yeah, shipping directly 50 to 60 and just finishing them off there. Okay. And lastly, on I guess the current run rate from the Canadian facility, you guys, how are you guys trending towards the target of one bus a day? Are you guys there, or you guys see by the end of Q3 you'll get there?
Yeah, we're definitely trending in that direction. That's ultimately what we're shooting for. I will say we're not quite there yet, but we're continuously refining our processes and have a high level of confidence in attaining that, and I'm optimistic about Q3.
Okay. I think that answers most of my questions. Congrats again on the great quarter, guys, and good luck on the continued performance.
Great, thanks.
Thanks, Ahmad.
Thank you.
Our next question's from Brian Starp.
Hi guys, thanks for taking my questions, and congrats on transitioning to positive earnings on the quarter. So I guess firstly, when you think about the pace of deliveries for the back half of the year, you have 165 buses due for delivery to reach your 200 guidance. I know you said that you're expecting a minimum of 60 in Q3, but should we be thinking about it as sort of more of an even division between Q3 and Q4, or perhaps more weighted towards the back end of the year?
More weighted towards the back end of the year. What we have going forward here, we have a considerable amount of orders that are going direct into the U.S., which doesn't necessarily have to flow through our operation here in Canada. So that's where we're going to see the major uptick in the Q4 quarter.
Okay. Yeah, we've got a lot of deliveries that are right on the line, close to the end of September. So it's whether or not we hit the certain date.
Okay, all right. That's helpful, guys. And then on the U.S. side, can you provide a bit of an update with regards to the bidding activity on the private side and the public side? Perhaps even, how the competitive environment is in the U.S. relative to Canada?
Well, the U.S. is much the same when we're looking at the competition and what we're doing in the U.S. We've been extremely successful here in Canada. The U.S. is the same. It takes you a little while. You got to break into the market. You got to get your demos out. You got to show the buses to the customers. You got to get the tenders flowing, and then you start to see the sales progressing with what your activity is. So we have the activity now. Now we're just expecting to close some of the sales that we're currently working on.
Okay, that's great. So from your prepared remarks, seems like everything's still on track to start production at the Atlanta facility in September, which is just a couple of weeks away. Sort of what are the, I know you were talking about being in the process of interviewing right now, but what are sort of the major hurdles left, or what the major steps left to complete before reaching production?
Well, we've ramped up down there. We've set up the facility to accommodate pushing the buses through. We've hired some of the key staff down there. We're just in the process now of picking up the workers that we need. Like I say, operational wise, management wise, we have the key people in place already. So now it's just finishing up with some of the employees we need.
Yeah, Brian, this process started probably 6 or 9 months ago, so it's been well planned. It's unfolding as we planned. We've got the right people in place, to get started and start the production.
Okay, great. And then just lastly, sort of touching back on that OPEX, just wanted to confirm when you were talking about a run rate, would it be fair to say that once the Atlanta facility is up and producing, that there would be incremental increase quarter over quarter or anything like that? Or does the comment stand with respect to the Atlanta facility up and in production?
Yeah, Brian, the way we've structured it with our partner there, ABG, it's outsourced assembly. So we basically, as manufacturer of record, we'll have 2 engineers on site. So the CapEx the OpEx doesn't increase.
Okay, perfect. All right, that's great. Thanks, guys. That's all for me.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks.
Next question from Alan Richardson.
Gentlemen, my issue is basically just a follow-through on deliveries. With about 150, 160 buses that you need to deliver to achieve your goal of 200 buses for the year, about 150, and you're talking about delivering 60 in the third quarter, leaves us with 90 buses need to be delivered. So at a rate of about 1 a day, you would achieve it. But if you're able to deliver 90 or 100 buses a quarter, and your sales over the next year are going to be about 235, it seems to me that you're ramping up your delivery for much larger results. Can you give us an idea as to how you're going to backfill the difference between what you're ramping up for and what you actually have in the way of sales?
Yeah, we feel very confident that we have some sales. Our sales pipeline is looking pretty robust. We have orders in there from. We have some contracts that are 3 to 5 year contracts, and federal funding has just come in, and we're waiting to have some of those purchase orders come forth to us. So we'll see a considerable increase in our backlog coming up here.
Yeah, Alan, we'll see the visibility on orders, but we don't announce results of those orders until we receive a PO. So we're confident there.
Okay. Now, the other thing is that there's been, a couple of articles, I should say, money managers have made some comments about the fact that assembled in China with regards to the current buses. As we go forward, and definitely the political environment in the United States has changed somewhat. Are there any comments coming back from Americans? I mean, you've got the Buy America designation. Would there be any pushback with regards to partial assembly in China? With regards to the I like to call it the bone structure being built over there and then being sent over here. Are there any issues with regards to perception over reality?
No, not really. The transit market is probably the most regulated market already. So that we were ready for the Buy America. You need to have any bus built in 2017 needs to have a minimum of 60% U.S. content, and in 2018 it moves up to 65% U.S. content. So it's hitting that content. So we're in the same position as any of our competition. Where we pick up some of our parts and pieces for, if we globally source, we're the same as, like I say, as any of our competition. So, our bus that's actually going to be put together in the U.S. actually complies with all the Buy America compliancy, and it has a U.S. VIN number on it. So it's no different than anybody else is building down there.
Can you give us an idea? I don't know if you can, an idea of what you think the difference in costs will be between landed in the United States or landed in Canada with an assembled in China versus out of Georgia? What sort of difference in cost? When you take into account the cost differentials there, and then you subtract the fact that you don't have to deliver, you don't have to deliver it and then pick it up in China. What sort of costs are we talking about? A huge difference in costs, or is it similar?
Alan, that's a good question. No, we gear ourselves up here for a 20% gross profit overall on the assembly, and we'll achieve that in the U.S. the same as we shoot to achieve that in the Canadian marketplace.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Really good. Thanks, Alan.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.
Next question from Peter Dranko.
Peter Dranchek, thanks. Good morning, gents. Congrats on the numbers. In the past, you've gone on record about being in the final phases of designing electric and hybrid buses, as some competitors are offering those options. And I'm just wondering if you got an update to that.
Well, thank you. That's a good question, Peter. Yeah, we've always looked at the electric bus. The market in the past, we stated we didn't see it was a big enough sales potential market for us to really enter into. But we've actually, going back a couple of years ago, we did do all the engineering to put the electric propulsion system into our bus. At that time, we chose what was one of the leading component suppliers, which was Siemens, for it. But we've just kind of sat that on the mothball. But going forward, we have seen a nice size, a bite-size order, RFP tender come out in one of the Canadian provinces where we have a pretty good population of buses now. And it was actually for a 5-bus unit, and we will be bidding that. So if we're successful on that, we'll enter into the electric marketplace.
Okay, thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Peter. All right, well, that looks like everybody's questions here this morning. I just want to thank everybody for joining us on the call, and if anybody needs anything else, they know where to find me, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes today's conference. Thank you for participating. You may now disconnect.